Welcome back to Waxing On, or as I like to call it, day one of my Losing My Voice tour. I appreciate for the hoarseness, but hopefully we'll get through this. Today, Jazz Monday, and we're going to look at a fellow. I first saw him when he was playing lead trumpet for Woody Herman's band back in the mid-'70s. And he recorded a number of albums with Woody Herman. He also played with Buddy Rich, Count Basie, Liza Minnelli's backup band. He's done Broadway. Certainly had quite a varied career, and in the 80s broke off to start his own band. This is Dave Stahl. Some of you may remember Dave Stahl from the Woody Herman days. I think one of his real highlights, he had a solo, I think it was on the Giant Steps album called Superstar, the Leon Russell tune. Did just an excellent job of that. When I started seeing Woody, that's who the lead player was. And I saw Woody about 3 or 4 times during the 70s, and he was the only guy I ever saw play lead. So I don't have a lot of information on his other players. But certainly Dave was really, really on fire in that band. And again, in the 80s, he broke off and started his own record company, Abbey Cake Records. He works out of Pennsylvania. He had a website and was really selling his albums strictly by the website. So you couldn't really find them in the stores. You had to buy directly from him. He's put out about 9 albums now. Well, I was on his website just recently, and a lot of them are out of stock because he's gone to streaming. I mean, when you think of it as an independent, it's a lot cheaper than trying to manufacture CDs, packaging, distribution, to be able to just put them online. The one album I have was Dave Stahl. I don't know if you can see it there. Live at Nights. There we go. Live at Nights. And he's got a lot of great players. Some of the names may sound familiar. We look at the trumpet and flugelhorn. We got Joe Mazzello. I remember seeing him with Maynard's band. Danny Kahn, John Eckert, Brian Lynch. Again, all of those names kind of ring a bell for me. Trombones, Dale Kirkland, Dale DeVoe, bass trombone, George Flynn. Saxes, Bobby Porcelli, Ken Hitchcock, Gary Keller, Tom Boris, and Terry Clark on drums. Now, Terry Clark is another name that rings true with me. He was drummer for Boss Brass and Rob McConnell for a long time out of Toronto. We've got Joel Weiskopf on piano, Dominic Four on electric bass, percussion, Mark Sherman, and the leader, Dave Stahl, trumpet and flugelhorn. Now, the band, this is a pretty large, big band he was running, and he did some touring with it, but he doesn't tour extensively. Now, a lot of the tunes, pretty standard. A couple of originals. One of the originals here, Blue State, composed and arranged by Dave Stahl. But we got The Song Is You, the Jerome Kern tune. For Slugger, Angel Eyes, Annika, composed by one of his sax players, Tom Boris. Solar Plexus, Danny Boy, a traditional, arranged by Don Sebesky, again a very famous arranger. Sweet Stephanie on My Mind, the theme for Three Maniacs, and this is not unlike Gordon Goodwin's Back Row Politics. The theme for Three Maniacs features 3 of the trumpet players, John Eckert, Brian Lynch, and Dave Stahl. Semi-Blue and Blue State, a recap of the theme. The album, recorded live at Knights of Columbus Council back in September 13 and 14 of 1989, so not long after he got off the road. Like I say, there's a lot of albums out there. If you go to the streaming networks, 9 albums he has out, and there's even, I think, some available for downloads. If you were going like to the iTunes store, you could download some of it if you wanted to have a copy of your own. But a lot of great music there, carrying on the tradition of what he was playing with a lot of the big bands. Unfortunately, we don't see much of them now anymore, but if you seek it out, there's some great playing here. Right now, there's not a lot of great big bands performing or playing. I mean, we still have Count Basie's band, we've got Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band, but we don't see touring like we did back in the 70s. When I was young and in the 70s, we had Buddy Rich was still touring. During part of that, I mean, even Harry James was still touring. We had Woody Herman, we had Count Basie, we had Maynard Ferguson. There was a lot of great bands out there to pick from, and we just don't see that anymore. Even when I go to the jazz festivals, we don't see as many big bands because it's just too costly. They don't tour, costs too much to bring them in. We see a lot more of smaller groups. And I really miss the big band sound. So here's one for you to check out. And again, it's so available when you talk about streaming. And if you were a fan of Woody Herman back in the 70s, you know who I'm talking about here, and you know the kind of sound we're looking at. It's Dave Stahl, Live at Nights is the version, or the one album I have, but there's a lot of them out there to check out. So maybe take a look through the streaming networks and see what's there. Treat yourself to some big band music today. That's it for today. Dave Stahl. We will be back Wednesday with classic rock. Till then, everybody take care, stay safe. Thanks for stopping by.